Sunset Shimmer, Dr. Whooves, A True Love by Stretched Out. Ever since Sunset had returned back to Equestria, she has settled down in Ponyville to be with more close to her friends. But even over time, she has been feeling with down. But she has hidden it quite well for Twilight and the others. But then, after some time, Twilight noticed that Sunset has been mostly by herself. She asked if something is wrong, but Sunset explained no, and that she tries to say that she is tired, that she has been reading all nights, and most of that. But Twilight knows that that cannot be the case, because even if that, she would be seen tired. But Twilight didn't want to focus on digging into more of Sunset's private life, because if you do that, it would only cause more problems between them. Like, Sunset would be more furious at Twilight if she did. And so Twilight decided not to pay much attention about it and just hope that Sunset will be much better soon. And in fact, only about a short time afterwards, Sunset was walking around town, greetings of friends and they greeting back, and she actually walked into some pony and saw it was her friend Dr. Whooves. Dr. Whooves has recently came back to Ponyville after his traveling around. They have been known each other for about a few months, and they have been very good friends. But every time she sees him, she makes him feel happy. And in fact, Sunset had asked if he wanted to take something to eat with her. And he was quite hungry, so they went to this restaurant and she paid for the food, of course. And she was very happy to just talk to him. Even over time, Sunset has started to get a little bit more having a crush on Dr. Whooves. But even at the same time, he has also had these strong feelings for her, because at every night he is laying in his bed just thinking about Sunset. Sunset has been on his mind ever on his travels. She don't even understand why. He don't understand why at first, until he was told by Derpy that he's actually in love with Sunset. At first he thought that this is not going to work because they don't know each other that well, and she probably will only like him as a friend. So he didn't say anything to her, so he decided to just keep that for himself and ask Derpy not to tell any pony about this, and she promised. But just a short time after, Dr. Whooves were in the park sitting by himself, listening to the birds singing and talking to himself. He was talking about that would Sunset ever had any crush on him? Would they have any kind of future together as a couple or just as friends? He said that he was afraid that even if he told her, it would damage their friendship and perhaps she didn't want to be his friend anymore. But in fact, he heard a voice behind his back and he recognized it. It was Sunset. Sunset had also been in the park, just she was actually walking by when she heard Dr. Who's talking about her. She was a bit curious what he was talking about and listened, and was very surprised. He explained to her that it was indeed true that he had love feeling for her. But he didn't want to tell her because he was just afraid to lose as a friend. Or perhaps she wouldn't really love him back in the same way. But in fact, she did love him. And ever since she came back and met him for the first time, she actually felt. And then he asked if she wanted to go out with him just to see if it could work. And she said yes and smiled at him. Already same evening, they actually went on the first rest date. At first, both was very little bit on edge, just nervous, mostly nervous because this would be Sunset's first date in a while, and this was actually Whooves' old first date ever. At first, it was quiet between them. They didn't speak much, only that they talked about what happened during the day, how their works together works, how their day works, and how much she had learned about this other world. But after they had small talk a bit more, they broke the ice and just enjoyed the company. And even after dinner, Dr. Whooves actually followed with Sunset back to her castle as company. And right outside the castle, she explained to Dr. Whooves that she had the most pleasant time, and she kissed him and said, "Good night, and let's go on again." And he just smiled and said, "Yeah, we should." And then she went in, and Sunset was so extremely happy. Even if Twilight was in the library at the same time, she heard that Sunset came home, and she asked how the date were, and Twilight was surprised of how this date went so well, and that Sunset had asked Dr. Whooves out again. And Twilight just appreciated that she tries and that she's happy for her. And over for next several weeks, Sunset and Dr. Whooves had actually been on their date, and they were very, very happy. All the friends had noticed how much happy they are together. They always did something together, either playing bowling, or had restaurants, or even picnics together. But during the winter, something did happen. Sunset didn't feel so well, but she was not the only one. Apparently, during the winter, a new wave of flu had spread across Equestria. Thousands were seriously ill, and the cure for this treatment was actually a flower. But most of this day has every hospital across the nation had almost running out of this medicine. And the problem was that to find more was very hard, because it only grows in several parts in the northern mountains further away from Crystal Empire. But during the winter, it's very hard for anybody to find this flower, and even this flower growing in snow. But it's hard. And just because when most of the hospitals in the major cities like Manhattan, Nottingham, Baltimore, and even Canterlot had run out of this flu treatments, and still many wants to have this flower treatment. But even if most other hospitals has almost a very limited of this cure, they had to share some of it to the other hospitals or even some of the other treatments. But in some worst case, some of the opponents actually started to get even worse. If they didn't get this treatment, they wouldn't make it. In Ponyville, there were only about 10 opponents that had this treatment, who needed this treatment. but only 4 in serious condition was very needed quickly enough, and one of them was actually Sunset. She was only so ill, she couldn't barely see anything, she couldn't really talk much, and the doctor estimated if she doesn't get this treatment soon, within the next 48 hours or so, she won't make it. And Dr. Whooves, he has survived this flu since he already had this treatment just before it started. And most of that, he was terrified to hearing that Sunset might not might live. He asked for anyone to any point to help him, to send a medicine for the other hospitals, but they couldn't do it because they had a run. Otherwise, they were very low on it. They couldn't spare so much of this medicine to just pull him. Many of the other medicines were needed it as well. So Dr. Whooves decided, with help from therapy, to go to Northern Mountains by themselves to find his flower in help to help Sunset. But therapy said that was too dangerous, and recently there has been snowstorms up in Northern Mountains, and it was impossible for her to even fly in those conditions. So she said she couldn't help him. And he was disappointed about that, but he said he would go, even if he had to risk his own life. But many of his friends said, no, wait, the cure will come. They said that the treatment from Baltimore is coming, but he couldn't wait. And the next day, they found out no cure is coming. The last cure of this treatment was actually destroyed during an accident. A train was supposed to transport this medicine to Ponyville was actually fall off track, so the bottles of the medicine was crushed and all was destroyed. And next transport would not happen within the next 3 whole weeks, which that Sunset didn't have much time for. So Dr. Whooves, he actually traveled all the way to Northern Mountains by himself, even during snowstorms, to risk his own life to save her. And when he came back, his condition was very bad. He was unconscious for nearly 3 days. But time and time when he woke up, Sunset had received the treatment and survived. The doctor said that she needed at least a few more days to rest before to fully recover. And she did actually. And as sort of thanks to Sunset, she actually proposed to Dr. Whooves, which they later married in Canterlot only about the next year. Both of them was very surprised that this even happened, but that event made them come closer, and only about 4 years later after the marriage, they had at least triplets daughters of their own, and that's how Sunset, Shimmer, and Dr. Whooves found their true love and got a big family. The end.